All right, so we're diving deep today into something pretty fundamental, and I think this is going to be really valuable for a lot of our listeners out there.
For sure, for sure.
We're talking greetings and introductions in English.
Right back to basics.
Yeah, and we're going to be drawing from this awesome resource called English Podcast with Me Speakeasy.
Love that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. And it's really focused on helping new learners speak English more confidently. So I think there's a lot that we can pull out of it that could be really helpful for anybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so our mission today is basically to extract those practical takeaways from this podcast for all of you out there who are trying to either kickstart or improve your conversational English.
Yeah, just nail those first impressions,
Exactly.
Get off on the right foot.
So let's jump right into greetings, okay?
Okay.
So the podcast Speakeasy highlights a few common greetings like hello, hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Yeah, the classics.
Now, I think the first question that might pop into someone's mind is when to use hello versus hi.
Right. Well, I think, hello is kind of your all-purpose greeting. It's pretty much always appropriate.
Right.
Whereas hi is a little bit more informal. So you'd use it with friends, family, people, well.
Like you wouldn't really walk into a job interview and say hi, right?
Probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
It can even be interesting with people like, say, a neighbor that you see every day, hello can still feel appropriate.
Yeah.
Whereas hi suggests that you're a little bit closer.
Right. There's that extra layer of familiarity there.
Exactly.
So then we have these time-specific greetings like good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Those seem pretty straightforward, tied to the time of day.
Yeah, generally good morning is from sunrise to noon. Good afternoon is from noon until about 6 p.m. or so, when it starts to get dark.
Right.
And then good evening is from then until bedtime.
Yeah, I think those are pretty intuitive for most people.
Yeah, and you see these kinds of time-specific greetings across cultures. It's interesting how that politeness tied to the time of day is pretty universal.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So Speakeasy really emphasizes the importance of repetition with these greetings.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's not enough to just hear them, right?
Right.
You need to actually practice saying them out loud.
For sure. It's about that muscle memory.
Right.
Getting your mouth used to forming the sounds.
Exactly.
And honestly, it just builds your confidence so that when you're in a real situation, you don't have to think about it.
Right. It just comes out naturally.
Exactly.
So let's move on to introductions now.
All right.
So the podcast gives us two basic ways to introduce yourself. My name is your name, and I'm your name. Would you say those are pretty interchangeable?
Yeah, I think in most everyday situations they are. My name is might sound a little bit more formal.
Okay.
But honestly, both are fine, especially when you're just starting out. The most important thing is just to pick the one that feels more natural for you.
Right. Find your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So then what about when you want to ask someone else their name?
Well, Speakeasy gives us two options for that.
Okay.
The first is what's your name,
Yep.
which is pretty standard.
Right.
And the second is may I know your name, which is a little bit more formal and polite.
Okay. So in what situations would you use the more formal one?
Well, you might use it in a professional setting, like if you're at a conference or a meeting,
Right.
or if you're talking to someone who's older than you or in a position of authority,
Nice
just
focus.
to show a little extra respect.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the podcast actually provides a little example conversation that puts all of this together. And I think this is really helpful.
Oh, yeah. I love when they do that.
So it goes like this. Anna says, hello, my name is Anna. What's your name? John replies, hi, Anna. I'm John. Nice to meet you. And then Anna says, nice to meet you too.
Right. Very simple, but it covers all the bases.
Yeah, you've got the greeting, the introduction, the question, and then the polite closing.
Yeah. And you see how important that nice to meet you is.
Right. It really emphasizes that politeness.
Exactly. Even in a very brief exchange like that.
Yeah, and it's a really good template that anyone can use and adapt to their own situation.
For sure. And as you get more comfortable, you can start expanding on it, adding more detail. But this gives you that solid foundation, that core structure to build on.
So to recap for everyone listening today, we've covered formal and informal greetings, time-specific greetings, how to introduce yourself, and how to ask someone else their name.
Right, the essential building blocks of conversation.
And we saw how all those pieces can come together in a basic, polite exchange.
Yeah, and the key takeaway here is to practice, practice, practice.
Right.
Don't just passively listen to these phrases, actually say them out loud.
Exactly.
The more comfortable you become with producing the sounds, the more natural it will feel when you're talking to someone.
That's great advice.
I think so.
And to wrap up today, I want to leave you all with something to think about. What's the very first English phrase you remember learning?
Ooh, That's a good one.
Yeah, and how does understanding these basic greetings and introductions now build upon that initial step?
Right. It's all connected.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
part of this journey of learning and improving your English skills.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a great deep dive, and thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Until next time.
See you then.